They staff take it.
Yeah. Staff, this is your day. Okay, so it's me. All right, call to order. Let's do a roll call. Sally?
Commissioner Miller.
She said she wasn't gonna attend.
Okay. Commissioner Dean.
Here.
Commissioner Robledo.
Present.
Commissioner Stubbs.
Present.
Commissioner Johnson II.
Here.
Commissioner Murphy has an excused absence. Commissioner Cole.
Here.
Commissioner Johnson.
Here.
Commissioner Davis. And Commissioner Brooks has an excused absence as well.
He said he's logging in. She says she's logging in.
Oh, okay.
So there's. Yeah.
Commissioner Brooks is.
No, Robin did.
Oh,
Davis.
Robin is.
So you can hand it over if you want, or just keep going.
Well, we have an approval of the minutes. Any objections
So
to
start with,
January 30th?
asking for a motion.
Do we have a motion on the minutes?
Oh, I've moved to approve minutes as printed.
I'll second it.
And then we have some scheduled business.
You have to take a vote.
Let's take a vote. Guys, I don't know.
It's fine.
So we take a vote?
We're just gonna-
Okay, all in favor of the minutes for January 30th?
Aye.
Motion to approve?
Nope.
No.
Those opposed,
Those opposed?
they know.
Say no.
And none opposed, so. Perfect.
All right,
Well done.
And now you get to hand it off to me.
thank you. Let's pass it.
So first we have applicant presentations. And so we have Albany Helping Hands will be presenting and Don Sparks is here on behalf.
Yes,
Send it over to you.
we applied for funding from the grant to help us meet the needs of the homeless in Albany. The Helping Hand Shelter is a place to house and feed people. And we are asking for help to assist us in our community presence that will help us continue to fund the operation that we're doing to meet the needs of the homeless people that we serve. Right now, we have approximately 80 people in housing, men, women, and 4 mothers with children at the baby home. And a lot of people in Albany don't really know what we do. And so we want to try to help educate the community in terms of the services that we offer, so that they can be aware of the needs that are being met, the needs that exist, because homelessness is an issue that escapes people's attention, other than they see the shopping cart on the street. But the homeless community is a very diverse community. People find themselves homeless for a number of reasons. Some of them are short term, some of them are longer term, and to help people understand the needs that we're addressing and what it takes to do that is important. So we've asked for funding for a communications person that will help us develop and produce newsletters as an ongoing communication tool that will help us develop an online presence for those who use social media outlets to get information and find out what's happening, so that we'll be, I think, perceived more relevant, and also can penetrate the population with information about what we're doing, and provide an avenue for success stories to be promoted, so that people can see this is not just a black hole that everything falls into, but there are people who actually come and leave and go on to other productive life endeavors. And so this person would need to have skills in social media. They need to be good at text writing and help us, because right now we farm out the costs and the activity of newsletter production and mailing. And my experience is that we could do that in-house more effectively and more efficiently if we had somebody in-house that did those things, because we have capacity that we're not using in terms of technology that we have available. But we need somebody that can drive it for us. So that's what our proposal is.
Are there any questions?
I was just wondering, do you still have the place out on Highway 20 where
Yes,
residents do that? I know they
we have a
sell wood and
firewood.
stuff. Yeah, that's it. And vegetables, I think, too.
the vegetables is not active right now that I know of, and it may be something in the future that we try to do. But right now we have a U-Haul franchise, I guess there. It helps us. We have a firewood thing that most of our wood is, I think all of it's donated.
Mhm.
We get it there. And so some of our residents and a couple of people that we have hired produce that wood. Also, there's a building there, and we have renting to a business, a mechanic. That's a business that he rents from us out there currently.
And so you say hire, you pay residents to work it, or do you have somebody that?
We have staff people that we have hired to work
Okay.
and residents that go out and do some of that labor as well. One of the things that the person we're talking about could do would be to help us recruit volunteers from the community who want to get out and get a little exercise. Because my understanding is in times past, we had as many as 20 people out helping produce firewood and things, and now that's not happening so much.
So.
We're struggling with
Commissioner.
I was gonna say, just quite a few years ago and stuff, Mr. Smoker.
Yes.
Has been me into going out there and fucking chickens. So one of for your store. It was interesting and he was nowhere around when we did it. He was on the East Coast and I'm thinking, that mean, you saw the people working together, working out so they had a purpose. And so, I know it can be a good thing. It just, right now, it feels like there's some ups and downs going on.
Yes,
Okay,
and this will help us try to work on some of that and get it
Okay.
consistent.
great, thank you.
So I have a question regarding, so this is a 1-year role, or which with the goal of being long-term, is it part-time, full-time?
The proposal says part-time, so 3 days a week. I probably would try to shape those hours into daily presence, but it kind of depends on the person and situation. And so that would be a continuing position. And my hope would be that if we can accomplish with that, what I think we can accomplish, then funding levels will increase so that we would be able to justify and be able to afford the ongoing position and to increase revenues. Just for more people knowing what we're doing, seeing what we're doing.
So I have a question.
Yes.
So you mentioned about that potentially you could bring some of the out of house expenses in-house, like mail it newsletters and things like that.
Yes.
Do you have an idea of how much that might contribute?
I'm not sure I understand.
Like how much savings there might be?
Oh, I'm anticipating that it would be substantial in the $10,000 to $12,000 per year range.
And can I,
Yes.
interject? So one of the, core goals of the program for CDBG is that it benefits people that are low or moderate income or for the cruising population, so that are homeless will qualify. And
Yes.
so can you kind of draw the line between this position and the benefit to low
Sure.
people that you serve and how
Sure.
we might capture that as we, have to report these things back to HUD, so.
I'm happy to.
where would that link be?
Our clientele are mostly homeless, mostly without incomes. The ones who do have incomes, I'm pretty sure would fall in the low income range. And so keeping the shelter open allows us to continue to meet the needs of those people that, to keep them out of tents and off the street so that they can get their lives well. I said that population is diverse. We have some of our residents that are elderly, they're disabled, Preparing them for a career is not going to happen. And finding them long-term placement is difficult because there are way more people that need placement than there are places to put them. And so we have them with us. We're happy to have them with us. In order to be able to continue to maintain our services, we need to communicate and attract a broader donor base and more support from the community. So that work means food coming into to provide the meals. Because right now our food donations aren't what they have been in the past. And when you're serving 7 meals a day, 3 meals a day, 7 days a week, and you start looking at the supplies drawing down, we go through a lot of food. And so to be able to communicate that to people, so you can bring canned goods, you can bring vegetables, when it's time, and you bring those kind of things, and think that helps support all of that. I don't know. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think
Line
that
drawing?
there's some concern that like the funding has to be used in a way that, if it's gonna cover staff time, that directly benefits, and this feels a little bit like there's a link. This is sort of an intermediary link between someone that would be directly helping your clients and, getting funding to help your clients. And so maybe there's another way that funding for a different staff position that is more directly working with clients could be a better fit for these funds, and that might ease your budget in other ways that could allow you to do some of the other things you're talking about.
We are needing to hire a case manager who works directly with the people.
Yeah.
I think that would make more sense for this pot of funds.
Yeah, Beth was saying exactly what I was gonna say. What you're proposing isn't enough of a direct link to
Okay.
how many people are gonna benefit by these funds. I see the secondary
Right.
link, but applying for a case management position or a part-time case management position, you've got probably a better outcome. And then we will need to be measuring the grant funds. You'll have to report on all the clients served, regardless of, the shelter, but it's just a more direct link.
I agree.
Hiring somebody to help increase volunteer hours and donations and fundraising isn't quite a direct link, but we are able to provide funds for public service and in shelter cases to support the operations. So if you can this is only saying, I know, rob Peter to pay Paul. Just find a more direct link to the services that are actually helping the clients, and maybe, the same amount you just say just would be the amount for the case manager. That is a more direct request.
I totally agree. I don't know what my pathway forward is then to do that. I'm happy to do that. We have obviously funded a case manager up to this point. And so in trying to look at that, I don't want to pretend we haven't had a case manager or funded that. And so to look at, I wasn't sure if we could do that kind of thing. So we want to stop funding it through how we've been doing it and follow that money for that. So we can do that, super. Because I agree with you, the communications person doesn't have direct daily impact on the individuals that we serve. Case manager does.
Does the commission have any objections to making
I think
that
I mean,
adjustment to what they would be funded for? If the commission chooses to fund that application, would you guys be amenable to considering funding a case management position rather than this communications? Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, as I'm thinking about it, that would turn me, much closer.
The goal is to reduce homelessness eventually, and we know that there are challenges down the pipeline. But, I think that's a much better direct link.
Is there anyone, any commissioners online that have any thoughts on that?
I'm recusing myself.
None from John. Okay.
None.
Okay. Are there any other questions for Dawn about the Albany Helping Hands application?
So I would personally appreciate you rewrite the application with that other position in mind.
Very good, yes,
Okay,
Absolutely.
more than happy to. I told Beth earlier, this has all happened in a time in, well, my personal life, where I've gone through some pretty dramatic health issues. And so I wasn't directly involved in putting this together at the time. But now I'm cancer free, so that has been a load and I can focus on this. So definitely
thank you.
committed to that.
Yes.
Okay, so
Actually, within the next week, probably, so that they have it for the following, the packet will go out in the mail a week from today. So maybe by the end of the day, Thursday, I mean, it can just be
Yes.
minorly modified. Some of the materials and attachments would be the same, right? But your narrative and outcomes.
Would change.
so now I want to turn it over to Sam Jordan with the Boys and Girls Club.
You want me to step up here?
If you would,
Okay.
the mics are on the table.
Yeah.
Welcome and thank you for being.
Absolutely. And your agencies are welcome to say or leave when you're done with the presentation. It's helpful to have the agencies presenting at the table so that we, for the microphone.
I better go get to work. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for coming on.
I'm happy to be able to be here. So,
We'll see you again.
yes.
So I'm from the Boys and Girls Club here in Albany, and we wrote our grant for funds to help with staff personnel as well as providing scholarships for kids to attend the club in the summer. For those that aren't familiar with the club, we provide an after-school program. So for about 3-4 hours after school, and during the summertime, we're open all day. So we have 9 hours out of the day that we are operating. We provide, with the help of the school district, breakfast, lunch, and a snack every day. We take the kids on weekly field trips, all at a reasonable price. We do charge $75 per week per child, which is an increase that we started last summer just because of all the increase in staff personnel costs. Because of the pandemic, we had to become somewhat, we had to increase our staffing costs because we had to be, what's the word I'm thinking, comparable to other businesses in town. So we increased our staffing, but also needing to add some costs to the weekly fees. And so with these funds, we will be able to provide scholarships to many of our low-income families that probably wouldn't want to attend because of the limitations in funds for families, as well as for staff that would be working on the floor with the kids, and our club directors who work on the floor with the kids. So providing more opportunities for our families who currently attend our after-school program. During the school year, we charge just $25 for kids to attend all year. So we don't have additional costs during the school year. But like I said, summertime is a little different. We provide a lot more opportunities. Like I said, going on field trips, additional supplies, having to take kids, we take kids to volunteer at Safe Haven and stuff like that. So transportation costs are added up too.
You said $25 per week during, not summertime?
No, $25 for the whole year. That's all it costs for a membership for each child. But just during the summertime, we have additional costs because we're open double the time for the most part. And it's a 9-week program that we offer.
So this scholarship is really to help kids during the summertime.
Yes.
To pay for that additional cost.
Mhm.
So another question?
Yeah.
You mentioned that in your cost breakdown that a part of the money you're requesting would go to mentors
Mhm.
and part of it would go to the scholarships.
Yes.
Is the part for the mentors because you will need additional people because you expect more kids coming in?
Yeah, so we, and because we're open a lot longer, we do have to stagger staffing. So yeah, we do have additional staffing. So those are the mentors that we listed.
And so will there be additional hiring needed for those roles?
Ugh, we're still on the I mean, we've been trying to hire for so long, but yes, that is the plan. Luckily, during the summertime, we tend to have a little bit more availability for college kids who or kids who are in school somewhere else. They move back to town. So we have a lot of repeat staff that work just during the summertime, but during the school year, they're unable to work with us. So yeah, we have some people that come back. So we're hoping.
So this is not for staffing, it's for the kids, the scholarship.
It's a little of both. It's for the staff who are working directly with the kids.
That's okay, right? Not permissible.
Yeah, I mean, the question around that is how do you make sure that the staff are primarily serving the students that come from low or moderate income households, and so the scholarship funds tend to be easier to demonstrate that link. But we can talk about how we would figure that out with staffing, or how do we put more money towards the scholarship fund that maybe ends up being used for staff time, but it's easier to demonstrate that connection between low moderate households. So
We could definitely be flexible in providing more funds towards the scholarships, and everybody that has a membership with us, they complete a registration and they list how much their family income is. So it's easy to decipher who would qualify and who doesn't.
any other questions for the Boys and Girls Club? Right. Well, then next I will turn it over to Brian Stein for with Family Connection.
Thank everyone should be up. Love technology.
Maybe Robin.
I'm mute.
Is that better?
Good to go.
Yeah.
My name is Brian Stein.
There you go.
Try again.
Good to go? Okay. I'm the business liaison with the Early Learning Hub of Lynn, Benton, and Lincoln counties. I'm representing Family Connections. They are the child care resource and referral of Lynn, Benton, and Lincoln counties. Both of us work out of Lynn, Benton Community College. We are partnered together. And I'm speaking on behalf of Lynette Winecoop. She's the Director of Family Connections. Our CDBG grant proposal is to be used in conjunction with our registered family home-based child care expansion project that we are both working together. Our objective is to increase the overall number of child care slots in the city of Albany by increasing the number of registered family child care programs. We're seeking to subgrant CDBG funds to prospective low and moderate income owner operators of home-based child care businesses to be used for eligible expenditures associated with capital costs necessary for creating these new businesses, and provided in conjunction with child care specific business training and other assistance that Family Connections and Early Learning Hub will provide to these new businesses. Some background on the Registered Family Expansion Project. I have it in my application with a lot of data points and statistics, but there is a child care desert in the area. I'd also briefed the commission on this back in, I believe it was October. So there you can go there for more information, especially how it applies to Albany. One of the biggest hurdles for expanding childcare is similar to everyone else, is staffing, especially in childcare. For most childcare teacher and provider positions, it requires a minimum of an associate's degree in early childhood education, ECE. One way around that is registered family. So registered family is watching up to 10 children. It's one provider. 6 of those children can be preschool age and under, and of those 2 can be infant toddler. And all they need is a house to basically, that is just legal to do it. So it's basically the largest manpower source that we can tap into, especially with existing unregulated licensed exempt providers. So friends, family, neighbors, individuals who are watching 3 children and under, they do not need to be licensed. So what we would like to do is find these individuals, entice them, motivate them to go and enlarge their business, gain these extra slots, increase overall number of slots in the Albany area. In terms of another hurdle for doing this, for creating these new businesses, especially ones that we want to survive 2024, is startup costs. It's very expensive. Profit margins are extremely razor thin. So what we want to do is entice these individuals and set them up for success with startup grants. And that's where the CDBG comes into play. Just for reference, Family Connections 2022 data on creating new licensed childcare programs in the city of Albany specific. 4 registered family programs were created that created a proposed 37 new slots. 3 certified family home-based programs, so those are bumping up from registered, that created an additional 14 slots. 1 license exempt regulated subsidy provider position that increased 3, and there's 2 license exempt that are pending, with a total potential regulated slots gain of 60. Plan of action for what we're doing is we want to create we'll work with a professional recruitment and marketing plan. We're right now we're working on contracting with Madison Avenue Collective out of Corvallis, and we want to run a large scale recruitment campaign with dedicated startup grants, and we want to increase the number of registered family recruitment in Albany by 150%. So we want to go from 4 registered family to 10. Prospective providers will be identified and selected by Family Connections, assisted with licensing, business training, pre-service training, and funding through a pool of existing child grant opportunities. And we would like to make the Albany CDBG grant one of those, in particular, specifically to LMI childcare providers in Albany specific. If necessary, starting in March 2024, Family Connections would like to offer Albany CDBG funds to existing registered and certified home-based childcare programs to use as part of a spend down. So this would essentially replicate the money that was given, I believe it was the 2022 Albany CDBG that was given to Oregon Cascade West Council of Governments. We are actually partnered with them already on this. So when they got that, I think it was $30,000 to give out. They actually used us to find, identify, and recruit those individuals that applied for those grants. So we will basically be using whatever leftover money we have identically to what you already need them for that purpose. With that one, we would be offering $3,000 grants for that one.
What does that $3,000 go to?
That would just cover operating costs. Especially there's a lot of businesses home-based, typically 60% go under every year. So what we would like to do is identify programs that would already exist right now, registered and certified family that are on that brink, no fault of their own, just they're having a bad time. Find them, identify them, get them grant money that would help with just whatever cost they have that would work in conjunction with the rules and regulations.
So both to registered families and to like childcare facility.
This would not be really focusing on the centers. This is just mostly the 2 different types of home-based care.
Okay.
Yes. Deliverables, so the $50,000 CDBG grants that we're looking to get, what we'd like to do is give them out in $5,000 grant application, grant pieces to 10 childcare providers. The reason we chose $5,000 is typically when grants are available for home-based childcare, they generally run the gamut between $5,000 and $15,000, $5,000 on the low end. We'd like to do $5,000 just so we can cover as many new program providers as we can in this area. And as I said, the leftovers will be used to give out to existing providers. There is one caveat on administration. I didn't realize this until last Friday when we covered it in a little bit more detail. Our grant application budget was a little off. LBCC does have administration costs for receiving grants. It's between 7 and 16%, depending on the grant amount. We did not include that in the budget. So that would actually cost between $3,500 and $8,000. So of the $50,000, the reality is with that amount, we would only be able to help between 8 and 9 new riders. Sorry for the confusion with that one. And we just didn't know at the time how that would play out. And we were waiting to find out how much, if we would be awarded before we actually made that consideration. Thank you for your time and attention, and I can take any questions.
Well, it was well presented. Thank you.
So I guess it's. So you're looking for in-home care people. Okay, so there's a mom who decides, okay. I can't, it doesn't pay me to work because then the childcare is so high. So she decides, oh, I'll take in a couple of kids and whatever. Now, what? I guess you do background checks on these and whatever, because I mean, that could enter into a real, yeah.
These are all regulated care positions. So all individuals that would apply are going through the same arduous application process that everyone else that's licensed and regulated
Okay.
by the state. So every individual that applies with themselves have to go through enter into the criminal background record
Okay.
check, as well as every individual that lives in the house that's over 18 years old. And there's a lot of other regulations apply. So this one is, this is high quality care. So this isn't just, this is not unregulated care.
And that's good because as a grandparent who raised 2 granddaughters and stuff, I mean, childcare back then, this has been like 10 years ago and 20 years ago, was out of the sky high then. And now I just can't imagine. I mean, it doesn't pay to work if you have to pay more out for your childcare.
And that's actually one class of individuals we are looking to recruit, is we're looking to entice the individuals that are already running existing childcare license exempt right now, as well as new mothers who are taking time off from the workforce, raise their own children. You can make a little bit of extra money, play entrepreneur on the side, and then
How many have you recruited in the last year? How many registered homes, or is this, you said that $30,000 they use you to recruit and find positions?
so the COG one, is that what you're referring to? So what happened with that is they were using that money, I believe it was for small businesses. And they decided to use it for childcare. So to help them find the individuals, they went to Family Connections. Family Connections administers everyone in the area, the 3 counties that runs regulated childcare. So they basically just got a list of everyone, made contact with them, anyone who's interested, contacted directly to the COG, and then they subgranted that money out to them. So we would essentially be doing something similar like that.
Okay, like, I guess I want to know what your recruiting skill set is with your team of going out and finding new, are you looking for new homes and existing, and then to what? You're looking for 8 to 9 new homes?
Well, so Family Connections is already the organization that anyone who is interested in doing anything like creating a business would already go to them for everything to onboard and become licensed. So what we would be essentially be doing is partnering that with 3 other parts, is marketing and recruiting. So that's what we're going to use Madison Avenue Collective for. We're working on right now is getting the contracts together for that, finding funding, and then they will help with branding, website creation, and actually creating marketing material and everything else like that. Then we want to set up business training. So these organizations, the new programs, know how to run a successful small business, catering specifically to home-based childcare, which is its own challenges and hurdles to make money off of that. And then we also want to provide them with the necessary startup capital costs to make sure that they go into the business not having to pay an outrageous cost out of pocket. So we put all these pieces together, essentially hoping to do a rollout sometime probably this summer. And what we would do is we would market on radio, potentially television, bus ads, whatever we can do to get the word out to these different individuals that we're looking to target. And then they would come to us, to Family Connections. And at that point, we would start the onboarding process, CBR background checks, pre-service training, organize them with LBCC Small Business Development Center for business boot camp. We're setting up on-the-job training that's going to be paid for by Workforce Partnership. They have money coming in from Raise Up Oregon. And we're putting all these different pieces together. essentially, we've been doing this already. Family Connections has always been doing little pieces here and there. When grants come out, they mass email everyone, let them know it's available. What we want to do is just put all these different pieces together in one large program. And the way we're looking at it is if we could recruit 4 doing nothing when they're just coming to us, then if we can get the word out, if we can do a marketing campaign trying to emphasize that you can make money off of this, which is something not many people realize is you can, if you do it right, you can make money off.
So I paid our daycare person a lot.
Oh, I do too. I have twins in daycare right now,
Yeah.
so I understand that. Yeah.
Okay, well, I appreciate everything you have to say, and there might be more questions. If there are, just let me know and I'll reach out to Brian. But in the interest of time, I'm gonna turn it over to Deb Northwest.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
I am Russell. I'm the home repair coordinator for Dev Northwest. And our program assists households who otherwise would not be eligible for a home equity loan due to income or creditworthiness. Home repairs address health, accessibility, and safety needs, which provide a better living environment for the resident or residents, maintains the value of the home, improves the neighborhood, and for the elderly, allow them to age in place. We identify health and safety concerns from roof to foundation of the home so that all necessary repairs are done correctly the first time. Under our model of thorough quality rehabilitation, homeowners can trust that the job will be done correctly so that they can thrive in their homes. Dev Northwest has been operating a home repair program in collaboration with Lynn County Housing Rehabilitation Partnership since 2007. This partnership includes 10 municipalities and Lynn County. Since the Albany Home Repair Program was funded in late 2017, we've repaired 17 structures for homes in Albany and provided safe and healthful homes for 50 individuals. Funding total for the years 2017 through 2022 was $831,980. We are currently still spending down the 2022 funding with enough funds for 4 more projects. We also had a loan paid back from a previous project and used that up entirely this past year. Our ability to help more households in Albany is limited by the available funds. We currently have 17 clients on our wait list, and we expect to help 2 to 3 households or 6 to 9 individuals, all under 80% of area median income level. And so just to give you an idea of work that's been done to date, we've done roofs, electrical updates, repairs, plumbing updates and repairs, lead paint remediation, window replacement, bathroom upgrades, which include ADA improvements, dry rot repairs, dry wall repairs, interior and exterior paint, foundation repairs, kitchen updates. It's extensive and a lot.
Where do I sign up?
Do we have any questions?
So the ask is 125. 125,000.
Yeah, I don't have that information with me.
Yeah,
so-
but yeah, it is, yes. Liza, who's our quarterback and stuff. And I'm Kim, on the lending for the program. So I'm very aware of it because I've been with Dev Northwest, formerly Willamette Neighborhood, since 2010. So I've been involved in this program since 2010, and we've helped. It's 80% or less, but I can tell you that many of our clients are much lower than that for housing, and their houses, many of them are on Social Security and fixed income, and there's just no way that they could get a bank loan or be able to afford to repair their homes. So, and it also, not only does it help themselves, but it also affects the neighborhood too by repairing these houses and, keeping the value. So neighbors appreciate us also. So this is just, okay. When I see Dev Northwest, I think of the presentation that we got, for building the apartments and stuff. So this is like a home maintenance type.
Mhm.
Okay, and that's totally different. So Thought I read it. No, I don't know. Read my own stuff into it, so. It's a great program. I mean, because these seniors cannot afford it. Okay.
So does the incremental, or does the requested funds provide for an incremental servicing of that backlog? In other words, will you be able to get to more clients now than you were in the previous year?
Likely, yes, yes. I would say that we, yeah, I mean, we have like an ongoing wait list. We also have, we can only do so many at a time because of the capacity that we have. We have Russell, and prior to Russell being hired, it was just Liza herself that did all. And we also serve, besides City of Albany, but we serve Lynn, Benton, and Lincoln counties too. So we have, now that Russell's on board, and it will do a lot of the Albany, and that frees up Liza to do some of the other counties too. So I think that the funding will help to go down our wait list and get more people served.
So the question I have is these dollars will be used for Albany residences, correct?
Yeah,
Not other counties.
No, just
No,
Albany, this is
specific
specifically
fund.
City of Albany,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah,
We have
there's-
other funding, that we use for the different, we have Lynn County funding, and then we have revolving loan funds that we use in
Other counties?
Lincoln and Benton County. Yeah, all stays in City of Albany.
So when a loan is repaid, they don't have to repay the loan till they sell the house or pass away or whatever. They can just, the owner gets to decide when they repay the loan, except that if they sell the house and move, then the loan is repaid. And then that goes into a dedicated fund, a revolving loan fund, just for Albany. Now, before we were an entitlement city, we were part of a group of other cities and county that help get state CDBG money for this revolving loan fund program. And actually, when we became an entitlement city, then we had to sort of start our own program, but we actually helped pay into this other fund that is going out and helping other agencies. But I mean, loans are being repaid, so starting to be repaid, and then they just go right back out. But I think the question that maybe Robin or the mayor had was that Commissioner Davis and Mayor is just your capacity, and you kind of answer that. So there is a maximum amount that can go towards a house. The idea is that it's hopefully enough to fix all the major repairs as much as possible. So that home, they don't need to come back again is the ideal goal. But that we can also spread the funding around so that it's not all the money is going to just one or two homes in the community. So it sounds like, I mean, I think it's $35,000 is the maximum, and then there's sort of some exceptions where you can go up to $40,000, but then there's some administrative expenses to pay for all the time it takes for them to manage the program. So it's funding for about 3 homes, but there's still a remaining balance from current year. And then if they get any loans coming in, I think we just want to make sure that you're able to do 3 homes a year, so that we're spending the funds down on a regular basis, because we just get in, and we could get into trouble if we aren't. It's great that there's waiting lists, and now you've got more staff, I guess.
So I can maybe advance this. I see that they were asking for 125,000 with 0 leverage. Everyone else has amount in there that would leverage. So is this just,
So
what's
this
the
is,
difference, I guess?
well, so public services dollars are a little bit different. So there's 2 applicants, the most recent one and this one, that would be competing for the other funds that are not restricted to public services. But a match is not required with a federal program. Now, we could require a match, but I think one of the challenges is, where would Denver Northwest get funding to run the program? They would, have to offset their costs if they wanted to provide more. We haven't required a match. It's not required by the program. So, I mean, that's something you can think about is, but the funds are repaid, unlike public services. a loan goes out. Now, not all of the $125,000 is going to come back. $125,000 minus 20% for administration or whatever will eventually come back, and then that revolves back out. So these monies continue to be, used and recycled within the community.
So they become a lien on the house then.
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
loan. It's
Alright.
just kind of like getting a mortgage. You just don't have to pay a monthly mortgage payment. So it does reduce the property
Yeah.
owners'
Equity.
monthly costs.
And it reduces their equity a little bit, but it
Yep.
also, there's no cost to them and they're able to stay in their home. and,
Yes.
you know,
Positive.
Mhm.
have it safe and secure.
So this money that you're asking for, this is to start a new program that's
No.
focused on Albany?
So
No.
that's to keep the,
Keep the existing program
going.
yeah.
We've been doing it since 2017.
So what's currently remaining?
In terms of money,
So we asked Liza how many, because we're doing budgeting and trying to figure out how much money we're gonna carry over. That they will complete maybe 3 houses with a remaining spending of about $100,000, and that might leave a balance of about $60,000 left to spend on some current funding. Was sort of a backlog and slowdown with COVID because of property owners not wanting contractors to come to their homes during COVID. And then now they're back up to, they're fully staffed, and, the COVID restrictions, you still have some concerns, but there isn't as much backlog in the supply chain or an ability to actually
Yeah.
complete the work as there was back.
That was a huge thing, the supply
dragging
chain
down.
and COVID and everything.
Yeah.
So it just took so much longer for us to complete projects and.
How about,
Yeah, so hopefully they'll get 4 or 5 houses done,
Yeah.
spend down there, I mean, they'll finish 3 or so for the rest of the year, but then starting in July, the remaining balance plus this new, maybe you can get more done, but they're just asking, their performance outcome is based on the new amount.
So
'Cause
the
we've already got-
remaining balance.
Well, the estimate is the remaining balance will be about $60,000 on June 30th. But
So is the
That's
waiting,
they may have projects in works that would spend that money down. It just won't be spent down until after July 1st. So they're asking for more money for what they think they can reasonably accomplish in the next year. In prior years, they've asked for more money. And, sometimes they've asked for this amount in prior years as well. But I think they're trying to ask for what they think they can spend.
is the waiting list of 17 only for Albany, or is that for your entire service area?
that's for Albany.
All
Thank you.
Great, thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. You said 20% is a servicing fee?
Administration. I mean,
25
they
grand.
do all the paperwork, the loan processing, all the inspections, but making sure that they have to help the property owner with, they do a site inspection, figure out the scope of work, then they figure out contractors. The homeowner gets to decide on contractors, but they kind of have to maintain a eligible contractors list that are, not debarred and all that. And then they work with the contractors and they make payments to the contractors. So the homeowner doesn't have any out of pocket money. I mean, it's their loan, and they sort of spend the loan down for them and then make sure that everything is.
We're the
complete.
bank, we're the kind of like.
Yeah, they're the bank.
We're the ones that.
But they're
like,
also the building
contractors
inspector.
pay
They're
us.
sort of
They're
the
building
overall
inspector.
general contractor that has subs.
So basically they have a house payment, is what I'm hearing,
Mhm.
right? And then they get the loan from the Northwest and they pay, so they get a second mortgage, basically what I'm hearing.
Right, but it's
No
not,
payments.
it's not due.
It's a
until-
silent second.
Until-
Silent second. They
It's
don't have
a
to
lien
pay
on
it
the
back.
property, but there's no payments.
So when they sell their
It's
property,
deferred.
it goes.
When it's sold, it comes out of the proceeds of that property. But the homeowner is only impacted at the time of sale, which may be at the time somebody passes away or moves on into assisted living or whatever it is. It is true that many of the beneficiaries of this program to date, and looking at the client certification forms, have been lower income seniors. A lot of, with deferred maintenance.
So how do you deal with a senior that goes through this process and has a power of attorney that doesn't know that they're doing this? And that family shows up and says, we're gonna sell mom and dad's house, but then you come and say, well, there's a lien against the property.
Yeah, there is,
Yeah,
well, it would come up in a title search. because you have to-
Yeah, when they sell the house,
Yes.
it's, you know, just like if there's another mortgage on the house or any
Right.
judgments on the
Yeah.
house, it will show up. It'll show up on it.
Subordinate lien.
My concern is that, this happened to me every year. I'll have a senior that has a double power of attorney in place. They'll get a call from someone, they change their Medicare situation. And then I get a call from the son or daughter saying, did you make these changes? So that's what I'm asking, is if somebody has early onset dementia or somebody has control of their finances and they go into this work not realizing, you're not realizing that they have given that authority to their power of attorney.
They're
Most of
probably
those
not
people are
applying
still
for the
working
funds.
Or still living independently, so they are
Yeah,
not at a
I mean,
stage in their
we-
life where
yes.
that's something that they're.
We have, I mean, we take a loan application, we get, you know, we get all their information and they're the ones that sign it. I mean, I don't know that we've had anybody with power of attorney. I mean, down the road, yes, they may have somebody with power of attorney, but when we take the loan,
Is you're independent, fully capable.
yeah, we are pretty careful about that. I mean, we've had people before, you know, that we've had people on our wait list that we, you know, that they couldn't do the paperwork, and so, you know, we're cognizant of that.
The reason I bring it up is because I have thousands of clients that are Medicare age and some have been swindled, have been lines and taken advantage of.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's my biggest concern because I know I
Yeah,
have some with money, I have some with no money, I have some that I help with their Medicaid and everything set up for them. So that's why I asked the question.
Okay.
Well, we also monitor the program and we have to actually monitor this one pretty closely because, you know, it's more risk, more money. And so before we reimburse Dev Northwest for expenses that they basically are spending down the loan on behalf of the property owner. We see all the invoices, we do before and after pictures, you know, we want to see after pictures if we can, we want to go out on inspections of the work to verify it. So, you know, this is, we put as many, not roadblocks, but you know, we put as many things in place, safeguards in place to ensure that, I mean, they're a nonprofit too, and you know, they have high standards, but so far, what you've described hasn't been an issue. I guess when it's come to only one loan has been repaid since you guys have managed this program, but there are they've been managing a bunch of the revolving loan fund. And actually, there's some other funds that could be used in Albany to help with the wait list if they had time, some repaid funds from CSC and from this regional fund. But anyway, good questions, but I don't think somebody would be applying if they were at that stage, you know, power of attorney applying.
So it's paid after the work is done.
No, the house is sold.
I mean, no, I mean,
For us, yes.
We don't
pay
reimburse
on a
everyone.
reimbursement
We
basis,
re-
so
yes,
something has to be
yes,
spent.
yeah, reimbursement
Right.
as
Review the
they,
expenses
as the
and then.
as it gets.
And they're not gonna pay the expenses unless the work has been done.
Yes.
So, I mean,
We go out, that's one of the things, Russell goes
Yeah.
out or Liza goes out and make
Yeah.
sure the work's been
Right.
done. The homeowner has to sign off
mhm,
that it's been done to their satisfaction also, and they have to sign the draw request for the,
for the loan.
to pay the contractor and everything. So we have a lot of things in place to make sure that happens, that the homeowner's aware, and they work, Russell and Liza work with them very closely.
Thank you so much.
Great program. I know that's a clientele for you that you see
I'm
often.
very
so
protective of that.
Their kids might get surprised down the road of the loan, but maybe not them.
Well, so before we kind of get into the application evaluation, I do need everyone that hasn't already to send me their conflict of interest forms. So it's, please send it to me today. We can still, you know, have the discussion, but I need to make it, and if you know you have a conflict of interest and haven't sent the form, please make clear that you're recusing yourself from any of the discussions around any of the applicants that you do have a conflict of interest with. But I just wanted to bring that up again, that I need those forms from everyone, except for, I believe Emma has sent me hers, or Commissioner Dean has. Thank you for that.
That's what you mind.
Just recently?
Yeah.
Yeah,
start the meeting.
no, I just haven't seen it yet. So if you send it to me in the last hour or so. I will get it.
Caitlin has mine. I gave it to her other way. so.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so now, I do have a couple people's scores and I can share kind of the spreadsheet of, that.
So which email did you have the spreadsheet in? Do you remember?
I sent it with if you have the meeting invitation, if you go to your calendar, it might be in that as a separate document as a spreadsheet.
I've done it on the last two.
But you can also look at Beth's screen and she, once you get,
There it is.
yeah. And these are just sort of the first drafts of scores for discussion purposes.
Yeah, yeah, these don't have to be like a final answer. It's just sort of helps clarify where people are at with certain applications. If seeing a big range of someone thought the application was great, and someone else thought it was terrible, like we can discuss how that came to be, or if there's some that it's like, oh, this looks like everyone thought it was a strong application, that helps clarify that maybe that's an applicant we want to fund. So it's really a starting point for discussion, but it does help us kind of have a starting point. So if anyone wants to share any scores with me, or we can kind of go through that, like we can just, I can ask everyone for their scores, like for Albany Helping Hands first, and then we can discuss that. That works.
Or if you want, yeah. I
Or
mean,
we can start with one of the ones that presented
week.
last week, so that maybe there's. So we can start with COPE maybe. Commissioner Johnson, do you have either Commissioner Johnson?
For them, I have 76, but again, it's because I want to hear others like ideas. Maybe
Yeah.
I'm missing something.
Sure.
but Yeah.
Yeah,
So I got 76 for a coat, 87 for furniture, and 106 for the Jackson Street Youth Services.
What's the total amount that you can get over the score?
110, I think this year,
Oh,
because we added some scores for priority areas
Yes.
and for their non-discrimination policy and inclusion. So. Commissioner, oh yeah, Commissioner Cole, you submitted scores.
Commissioner who?
Cole,
Oh, okay.
do you?
I don't have any.
Okay.
I do.
Commissioner Davis, do you have score?
I do. You guys are zipping in and out here. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna try to log back in one more time here. Sorry for the issues today.
So do you want, do you want to share a little bit about your perspective on COPE? On where you thought maybe there were some weaknesses?
Well, mainly it's, they don't, I mean, I didn't, there's changes every day. And so, you know, do they go out there, on the experience of demonstrating success implementing the proposed activity or project and using CDBG or other funds. And so they haven't got any other funds as far as I know. And so I put them low on that because they're probably small enough to where they don't have someone who could do that. But still, I put them low just because of that reason. And what else did I do? Provided a complete and realistic schedule, which illustrates that the activity will be completed within a program year. I gave them 0 because they don't know, you know, from day to day what they're going to do. And I don't think there's any way to project it. Else I gave them all because they have no federal funds. I think they totally have a place in the community for what they're doing. But I don't think there's any type of, I mean, they go out and talk to them and give them this stuff, but I don't think they have any, I'm trying to think of the word I'm trying to use, any base, like what, okay, so you have we go out 4 days a week to go talk to these people and whatever, but it's probably changing every day. And so it's kind of hard to judge, to mark them. I think they have a place. But
Yeah, but in the system, right?
Program that they described as something that they thought they were running already. They had already gotten some funds for, in other words, this is an activity they're pretty much pursuing today. So
Yeah.
it's not like a program they're gonna start with a schedule, it's really supporting an ongoing activity.
Mhm.
It was a little unclear to me how much there was a new emphasis on these flexible funds or something, but even that was something they said they'd already been doing at some level. So
Yeah.
it did seem like this was just supporting kind of an existing.
Yeah,
program.
they do have an existing program and not all of the staff that are implementing that program. Some of them are on a volunteer basis and they really want to formalize that by having funds, you know? And so I think that's part of it maybe that feels like a little bit startup-y is that
Yes, that's
they
what I- that's
haven't
what I
always
felt
had the
too.
funds to support the program, but you are correct in saying that this is something that they have been doing. That through, you know, Creating Housing Coalition, this COPE team has existed and done this outreach work.
And the other two, Furniture Share, they're pretty, got an 87, and the only reason that they've got any low marks is because there are other federal funds. They have done that. Just actually, I haven't given them any low except a number of people who will benefit from this, and that changes too. But it seems like they do support a lot of people, and I don't think that would be a bad thing. And the Jackson Street Youth Services, I gave them 106 because what they're doing, I like it that as I was reading through it, kids either have, after 3 days, they have to either go to school or be training for a job. And so, as I said before, you know, the kids, and they're not all low income. They're all incomes to kids who run away or have a bad situation, and they don't have to be poor to have a bad situation. And so I like it that they are into school and training, but give them a safe place to go home to. And also, it may give the parents a little bit more secure feeling that, you know, they're not going to come home. They don't want to come home for whatever reason, but at least they're somewhere instead of running on couch surfing, and that's dangerous, I think. So I like what they do. I like what they do. And that's all I have. I haven't gone any farther.
I wanted to note that just Jackson Street Youth Services is receiving 150,000 for operation expenses from those Senate Bill 5561 funds. This is a separate application. We'll just have to make sure that there's no duplication of benefit. So they did apply for operational funds, which is a little different than what the other agencies applied for, sort of capital projects. So I'm just bringing that up.
Yes, thank you.
I know for me, Family Connections has stood out the most. Just am I saying that right? Yes, Family Connections. I'm just talking to
Yeah,
conversation. The dollar amount, and then like the dollar amount, and then how many kids are actually going to be able to place into a home, and then it's also giving you know, potentially 8 to 9 women. I'm assuming women could be men, I don't know, but
Households.
households jobs and being able to stay home with their kids. So it hits a lot. It keeps, you know, keeps housing for them. Like it keeps affordability for the person in the home. The kids are in a smaller environment versus stuck in you know, 25 to 30 person room. They're having more care. They're, you know, background checked and registered, and it's a safe environment. And then of course all those parents can now work more effectively because their kids have childcare. So I'm just, I don't have my scores up there, but
Felt positively about that application.
I would love my money, you know, in my mind to go towards,
Yeah,
towards that continually. If we could have 50 of those homes, it would change, it would be a game changer for Albany.
Do you remember reading or anybody saying what the rate would be for the kids that they're gonna provide childcare for? I didn't read that.
I don't think they provided the
Okay.
rate, yeah.
I think that's a question I had, and I don't know if I missed it. Like, does this serve low income families? Are they providing this at a price that parents can afford?
Yeah.
I think that's part of the requirements of the money though, right?
Well, the requirement of the money is that the household that, or business owner that's being served would be low or moderate income. The placements themselves wouldn't necessarily have to serve people that are low or moderate income. And it's a little tricky to make it work both ways, because if you have a business that where the profit margin is really slim and you're supporting a low income business owner, having all of those childcare slots be affordable, however you might determine that rate, might not allow their business to be
Survive.
successful. But by having more childcare providers in general in Albany, there should be competitive rates, more competitive rates, right? So I could certainly ask if that's an element of the program
Well, it
that,
doesn't make sense to set them to fail.
right, we don't want to set them up to fail. But if there's, I can see what they say about, you know, the affordability in terms of for families that would be utilizing that childcare. But the way that they're qualifying for the funds is by working with a small business owner that's low or moderate income.
And part of, oh, go
The
ahead.
families could probably still get childcare aid possibly, you know, like subsidized where it would help.
No, not with the CDBG funds, so.
No,
Which is external source.
Right.
Different source.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there are other sources out there that help pay for childcare,
Yes,
but
uh-huh.
this activity has to qualify as an economic development activity. So the purpose is supporting a micro enterprise. So
Okay.
the childcare provider would be a micro enterprise, and that's the only way this would qualify. But if you look at what the Boys and Girls Club was applying for, it's sort of like the scholarships for offsetting the cost directly to the family for getting that after school support. That's a public service activity. And that's where the funds are limited to maybe $50,000 to $55,000 a year, and they're really competitive. So all of your applicants except for Denver Northwest and the Family Connections are competing for a very limited pot of funding. So the Family Connections, the way their program is working, it to be out of public services because it's actually supporting a business and not, even though it may have ripple effects, it's supporting a low and moderate income homeowner with them having an income and a business. But the secondary effect is that it's going to be providing daycare in our childcare desert, right? And maybe some of those, maybe it's a lot cheaper than Presbyterian Church over here where I have my kids, or wherever, you know, the existing resources that are out there.
Circle of friends for my kids' way.
Yeah. So I was just doing some research. We were talking about COAT, and we'll need to follow up on a couple of these, and didn't have time to do all that, but there are other sources of funding. ESG, it's an emergency solutions grant that CSC gets to help like homelessness outreach. One of the challenges with some of we're trying to figure out how is the activity addressing, is it an eligible activity? I mean, providing services is eligible. What's the performance outcome? I mean, they're helping people, but so one of our consolidated plan goals, which was addressed in their application, was providing services to special needs populations. And that is true. It's providing services to special needs populations, but eventually maybe they're getting into services. So I think we can make a connection, but I was just looking up, you know, CDBG and homelessness outreach, and it all comes up with other HUD resources which are available to address street outreach. So some of these, it's a direct connection. Some of them we have to weave a little more challenging connection. Same thing with, you know, some of these other applications, furniture share. You know, we're helping people offset the cost to get, you know, when you finally get into a house, you know, having furniture and the beds and the tables and all that, but we have to really, we're trying to make a connection there, and some just are able to make a stronger connection than others, and we'll just make sure that, it is, these are eligible public service activities, but sometimes looking at those consolidated planning goals to reduce homelessness, provide affordable housing, those kinds of things are, the connection's just a little
Yeah, some of these were
different.
very explicit connections to like homelessness, and some of them were definitely very implicit, right? I mean, like, whether you're providing childcare services or helping someone stay in home, I think those will really help. They're definitely
Well,
not
and I will
really-
say, I went out on the
Give
PIT
food
count
and
and
clothing.
with Coach, and I mean, people that are in their vans, sleeping at the Standing and Rest Shelter. They're serving, the area, a couple places they go. I mean, a lot of them are waiting for housing. They just they can't afford housing. Housing is too expensive. And some, a lot of them are trying to get into housing. Now, I mean, there's another subset of the population that maybe needs resources before they realize that they want to be in housing, right? And so, I mean, I think conversations we've had with COAT is, are you going to be reducing our unhoused homeless population? And get back to the continuum of housing options is having services available to help people get the help they need to then get into housing, but is there housing that has those support services? And then, that housing spectrum, are there spaces in the shelter? Is the shelter providing the services they need? Or the shelter safe, whatever. So Emma can probably speak to this. Emma's recusing herself because she used to work at Helping Hands, but I think that, understanding, and I'm
Yeah,
kind of
and
going.
Emma's welcome to weigh in on any of the other applications,
Yeah.
but she has recused herself from Helping
Yeah,
Hands.
from the
so,
Helping Hands,
yeah.
right. Right, so I was just saying, she could weigh in on just the general nature of other applications, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Hi, Emma.
If she has anything, she doesn't have to comment, but
I'll just say,
Hi, all I have is hi right now. This is my first meeting, so I'm listening and learning.
Yeah, we're throwing you in the deep end,
Yeah.
starting with this meeting.
So a couple, sorry. go ahead.
No, please.
Was it say a couple questions about the scoring? So like with Family Connections, they're helping 10 people. I mean, the number may go down. It's not like what you said.
I think it was
slightly, but-
9. I think
Yeah,
goal
it
was
might be 8 or
9 to
9.
10, yeah.
But so you're helping 10 people, but really in terms of this childcare desert, you're actually helping like maybe 100 people,
Right.
right? So how do you, how should we weight that?
Yeah, I think that's sort of, a little bit flexible up to you guys as you score it, but certainly think about like, yes, the number is one thing, but what are we looking at in terms of the impact
Impact,
also? And so, it's both, right? And some of these projects maybe have a big impact on a small number of people, and some have maybe a less substantial impact, but on a lot of people. And it's not that one is inherently better than the other, but
Yes.
it's kind of about how you, as a commission, assess that and determine what you feel like is the best going forward. So there's no right or wrong way to proceed, I guess I would say.
And then for some of the questions that had to do with like experience with having done construction, for example. And so some of these organizations have very explicit experience with having done construction jobs and things like that. Some of them haven't. How do we?
If their project that they're applying for doesn't involve construction, it's not important that they have construction experience, so.
No, understood, but when we go to rate them, then if you put a 0 in there, they end up with a lower sum than everybody else just because they haven't done it before, but it's not really a negative for them because it
I would
doesn't.
just give them the score then.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like it's a not applicable, but
Go ahead and give them a high score because you don't want them to cheat. Okay.
Yeah. It's more in the case of if we had multiple applicants that were all doing construction projects, that you might want to have
Sure.
some comparison between those.
Yep.
But we only have one applicant that's going to be doing construction, and they are applying for funds that most of the other applicants are not applying for
Right.
because they're going for the public services. So it's.
So that's the question is on this
Yeah.
thing here.
Okay, thank you.
I can see that.
And so that the confusion is that 125, that it's not the same dollars as these right here.
So.
That's the confusion, right?
Yeah.
So you see the 125, well, we like to fund some of that, but if it's gonna pull from the other ones, then it's a
Which it
concern.
will not.
What's that?
Yeah,
Just made that
so
today.
to clarify. Thank you. That's a really good point. I should have mentioned that earlier. So Family Connection and Dev Northwest are applying for funds. All of the rest of the applicants are applying for specifically the public service dollars.
Okay, so that helps.
Those are the
Yeah.
ones that are capped at 15%. So the remainder of the funds, the other, well, outside of what we pay for the programming, but the remainder of their funds are the funds that Family Connection and Dev Northwest use. So a much larger pot of money.
Okay, good. That helps a great deal.
The public service dollars is really where it is much more competitive, because of that 15% cap.
So do we know 15% of their ask?
15% of what our HUD allocation will
Okay,
be,
good.
which usually works out to be between 50 and 55, maybe $60,000. That we have to work with. Last year, I think it was 56,000.
Okay.
But we don't have our allocation yet this year, so I can't give you that exactly.
Like furniture asked for 35,000, so if we only have 56 to work with, then we're not gonna give anybody what they actually want. Is that what I'm hearing?
I mean, probably the other option is that you give one applicant what they want and another applicant a small portion of what they want. There's different ways to do it.
Okay.
Historically, the commission has opted to do to provide more applicants, but no one gets everything that they ask for. So some percentage of what they ask for the public service dollars, if that makes sense. It doesn't mean that's what you have to do this year, but that's the perspective the commission has brought in years past, is we'd like to give to more agencies, not necessarily everyone, but more agencies, but less than what they asked. Commissioner Stubbs.
Yeah, I guess it's the only way I know to say it. Well, I have maybe an issue with furniture share that I'll share. I've worked with them with a lot of clients, and I don't see it directly impacting homelessness or homeless insecure, whatever. I'm sorry if I don't have the right words, but what happens is the same cycle goes through. So I had a 27-year-old mom with a 4-year-old who I house. Furniture share comes in, amazing, because she was sleeping on the floor with her 4-year-old. Like, I'm thankful for them. And she got a bed and got furniture and stuff. Got even too much things, like too much stuff. But she couldn't find childcare, couldn't find work because of not having childcare. And so unfortunately, I had to evict her. And I offered her community housing. I offered her affordable community housing as a lower income type of option. And she just wasn't prepared and able to do that, unfortunately. So the same system is still broken, even with furniture. And I don't want someone to go without furniture. I will furnish, for me personally, I furnish everyone's room as a landlord myself. Like, if they need furniture, I will get it for them. No one on the planet is going to do that. But this person in particular, this story, it doesn't actually stop them from being homeless. And that's our goal for our money. And so though I think it's valuable, I partner with them. I do use their resources. It's a quality of life upgrade, but it doesn't directly impact where if Taylor just had childcare, she could have gotten a job and she could have kept this amazing, cute little studio she had for the first time ever. But she couldn't find any childcare, therefore couldn't get a job. So that's my one.
They use driver and some.
It's like, what is really the beginning of our corruption, and I think our kids are losing out, that parents, single parents or double parent households that are having to work. So again, my thoughts towards shifting the economy.
I'm glad you said that, because when she was doing the presentation, I thought, how many of us started out getting a whole house full of furniture? I mean, we still have things that they don't match. And so I was questioning that, okay, it's great. I mean, if you want to give them a few things to get started, that's fine. And you say you get them, does furniture stay there, or does it get
That's the other issue I have, yeah. She lived there for 1 month and then took all the
Oh.
furniture with her to who knows what, you know?
So I was just doing a little research, refreshing my memory. So eligible public service activities, because it seems like that's going to be where most challenges are, and where I brought up some questions and you guys have too. So you can, services for homeless people. I mean, there's a list of things and it's not all inclusive, but not limited to. You can do childcare. No, we've got Boys and Girls Club, healthcare, job training, recreation programs, education, public safety services, fair housing activities, services for seniors, services for homeless people, drug abuse counseling and treatment, energy conservation, counseling and testing, and home buyer down payment assistance and welfare. So, I mean, that's kind of the primary ones. It's not limited to. So I do think if you can think of some of these activities, making that connection to what services it providing for a low mod person and a homeless person. And so I think that in the past, this has come up with some of the applicants. Is there a direct connection? You know, the furniture share example, it's not the service that got them into housing, right? So it's a weaker.
Nor does it keep
connection.
the housing.
It doesn't keep them in the housing. So,
Is everybody religious?
but you know, maybe with COAT, you are providing a service to somebody and that's eligible, who's homeless. It may not have been, you know, I don't know, it's just, there's some gray area there. You just have to, you have to do your best to figure out what are the biggest needs and outcomes, and then, you know, what are the priorities in
Yeah.
the community this year?
And furniture share they are providing a public service, right? So there's some eligibility there, but I think that your note that, does that meet our actual goals?
Exactly,
Mhm.
yeah.
And that's where that connection really starts to fray a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a very like minute responsibility here to change the city, and, you know, we don't have to give everyone money, but we can give money where it really, really counts.
Directed funds. or
Yeah,
where
well,
it really
reducing
matters.
homelessness is just one goal, but you know, the public services tend to relate to that in some way.
And I want them to apply. I want
Yeah.
everyone to apply.
Mhm.
It's, you know, we want applications. We want to hear what's happening. We want to hear who's doing what. Yeah, so I'm gonna be done talking, but
No, well done.
Yes, no. Appreciate it.
So I do have scores. I don't know if you want to take them from me. Can you hear me okay?
I can, and I would love to.
Okay. For Albany Helping Hands, 85. For Boys and Girls, 98. For COAT, 105. And for Furniture Share, 94. And for Jackson Youth, 100. And then the next one, I'm sorry, what is?
Oregon Cascade Council of
Oh,
Governments.
Cascade,
sorry.
yeah. Yeah, thank you.
Mouthful.
100 for those. YMCA 95. And then the Family Connections 105. I really like childcare, and I have to recuse myself from Dev Northwest because I've inquired. I've inquired there before.
Thank you. Is there any applicant that you wanted to, or application that you kind of wanted to call out as why you thought it either stood out or why you would be more hesitant to fund?
Well, I'd be hesitant to fund. I'm kind of hesitant on the Helping Hands because of what we discussed last week, and I don't know that it was adequately addressed by the time I got on, which was like 12:04. What's that? Yeah,
Could I speak?
go ahead.
I think we've asked them, correct me if I'm wrong, to do a special presentation at a later date and to address
At City
specific
Council.
at city council
Yeah.
to address those specific questions. So he was not prepared today to answer to address our concerns. He was just trying to present the ask. But we do have space for them to
Thank you for that.
clear the air at some point.
So as Commissioner mentioned, I have been in contact with them because and on a grander scale, I've been working to find out what our capacity is, what Routes capacity is, what's going on in Lebanon, Sweet Home. Because I'm trying to figure out, does it make sense for us to go alone? And then, so I wanted to talk to them because I find out that Albany Helping Hands is the biggest shelter in this region or this area. And there's only so much capacity going on, and we cannot let them fail. It is something we cannot do. Now, they have been fully honest with us as far as transparent. Their board of directors came, one of the board of directors came, the new chair came, and he said that they gave everything they had to the financials to
DOJ.
the DOJ, and they have not heard anything back yet. The executive director was there, and he told us about the surgery and things he was going through personally. And so I asked him, I said, well, would you be willing to come and do a special presentation to city council to share this with us? Because we haven't heard anything from them. It's always been the other direction. And so we would like to hear from them. So I've asked him to come to this presentation. I'll work with Kenzie or Peter to get them on the schedule.
Excellent.
So, I mean, the timing is a little off here, but
Are we going to be able to change our scores based on that, or?
well, so I think these are draft for discussion purposes. Next meeting, 2 weeks from today, everybody's scores will be turned in. You can send updated scores, and then Beth will just kind of do an average by throwing out the highest and lowest or whatever she wants to do. And then you guys can kind of go, here's how they rank, and then more discussion. But we might be able to find out some more information between now and the next meeting. Any federal or other funds, we have to be extremely careful that agencies are, we need Helping Hands to be successful.
Yes, we do.
And there may be a lot of other resources coming from the state to address homelessness, but with the federal funds, we have to make sure they're complying with the bylaws, that they meet a lot of different things, which is why we require a lot of information with their application, the financials and all that. We also need to make sure they're following employment practices, anti-discrimination. This is of any agency. So I think they completed the application, they signed the certifications, but there may be concerns in our ability to ensure that everything is happening correctly on a day-to-day basis. And they're in a transition period right now, and I think they're still getting their feet back underneath them. We need them to be successful, but this is such a small grant amount that has such big consequences. If something were to go wrong, I would just say that as staff. It's a conversation that I've talked to the city manager about, where we need to be we have to make sure that everything is pretty much
Transparent.
and happening before any federal funds can be awarded to the agency. So we're even looking at that with some of the state funding, even though the state funding doesn't have the same restrictions, but we want them to be successful. But what pot of money is going to be the best fit for them,
Right.
for any of the agencies, you know,
So-
Yeah, and
let's just say
successful,
that.
but not at the expense of
Right.
the things that we have to do for this program,
Right.
right?
I
So-
agree.
And this,
So I can get them on the agenda for the 22nd, the special presentation, which is our next meeting is.
27.
So Mayor, we should go over what we might want to hear from them
Oh, you're
about.
my next stop. so don't worry
Okay,
about
well, I mean, maybe not today because I'm a little bit, but you know.
that. Oh, yeah, as
before-
far as
yeah,
my schedule is concerned, is to get with
Yeah.
you before.
Yeah.
So we can get
Yeah,
that information. then.
yeah, okay, perfect.
So at the next meeting, we should have an update on where things stand with Albany Helping Hands.
Correct.
As a result of their presentation to City Council.
Correct.
so do we still ask them to go through the effort and work to rechange the application?
Well, that's what I want to do is we might just want to see if we can meet with the executive director now before they spend time
Put out work.
putting in the work. And this effort will pay off because if the city gets the OMA, the Oregon Mayors Association funding, I mean, they would be a great candidate for that money. And it's a lot more money
Yeah.
than, you know, $10,000 or $8,000, where there's a high risk associated with those funds for us, being the responsible entity for how those funds are being used. So we will, I think we do want to meet with them right away and just kind of, these are the things we need to go over and feel confident about. And they can be taking measures to address those, but we probably wouldn't be able to get into contract until they were fully addressed. But meanwhile, you know, we have time and decisions that need to be made. So that would be my recommendation.
So very
Also,
briefly, I was just gonna say that I thought the outreach for COAT was probably one of the most impressive, I mean, ways to reach a lot of people at a level that is very, very needed. That's it.
Well, I'm looking at the time and I do want to respect that it is 1:30. So please, before the next meeting, send me your conflict of interest form and your scores. And then I can compile those further. I feel like we had started some good discussion today, and we'll continue that discussion at the next meeting about what applications we feel like should get funded. Hopefully at that point we'll know what our allocation will be for the next year. I can't guarantee that, but that is always helpful information to have. But even without that information, we can kind of make some decisions about what are our top candidates for funding and maybe how much should go to different applications. So I appreciate everyone's thoughtfulness today with the questions and your reflections on the applications to date. So I will also note that given that we are in this evaluation time period and it does take time, I would anticipate that our next meeting would also be a long meeting until 1:30. So if you can account for that, please do.
And you only want our totals, you don't want the details.
You can send me your totals or you can just send me the spreadsheet, whatever is easiest.
Sure. The way I've been able to handle this, no, I don't think you want that.
It's amazing to see how the sausage is made and it.
Oh, my God.
It's helpful to have, like you've done, to bring the matrix so you can look back and reflect on, okay, where did they fall short or where were they exceptional?
Maybe I'll just bring it in and to the office and say, hey, get this to that. Because that's
Yeah,
the way
I can
I'm
take a
gonna
copy
get
of it while you're here and just have that, that's no problem. So,
Do I need to close out anything here? Or is it
I
wrong?
don't know. Are we back to the agenda? I think
Take
we
it away,
went through everything.
Robin,
Yeah.
sorry.
It's all you up.
I think we've, was there any additional business from the public? Anything from the public? And anything from the commission additionally?
Well, I was going to share at this time, that's when I invited them to come to this special presentation. I think they are, Albany Helping Hands specifically, are committed to being totally transparent, letting us know what's going on with them. We have a new director, Mike Davis, board chairman of the board, Mike Davis, and of course he met the director. And I just trust that they will bring us information. So if Ann and y'all can help us get those questions together so we can get it over to them, so they can get information back to us. But they did give me a sheet of questions they had worked on with the police department. There's some things they need, so I'll get you a copy. And I think I gave it to Peter to send to all of us, including you. I don't know if he's done that yet, but I'll make sure you get a copy of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Beth can probably be the best one and whatever
Have
you
those
think is the
discussions.
most important, but I do think it's overall just the city's comfort level with providing funds. And just, it sounds like they're taking steps to,
Yeah.
I could feel him being really uncomfortable, like he's doing his best. And then being sick at the same time,
The fire
Yeah.
hose, he's drinking from a fire hose.
Oh my, yes, but as you were saying, you were working with the police department. Have you driven by there lately where they have now a couch city?
I drive by there every morning.
And I mean, I haven't written Chief Harrington yet, but I'm thinking, something's gotta be done there. It is growing. So anyway, but yeah, I hope it's best.
Yeah, and absolutely, it's great that they're taking steps and hopefully that's getting things back on the right track. It's also important where they're at in that process of taking those steps. And is this year the right year? Because they can always come back in future years too. When they've
Yes.
demonstrated that they're
Yeah.
Yeah,
an
they definitely have
appropriate
work to do.
candidate. So depending on how things, shake out with their presentation, the information that we've gained, we can go from there.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
If you can get those questions over to them, it'd be great. Over to you.
And we're meeting on the 22nd next, right?
27th, the city council meeting the 22nd. Hopefully you'll guys tune in.
27th. Okay, that's it. We're out of here.
We're out of here. We're out of here.
Is there a motion?
I'm learning from the best.
Out there. Our next meeting is the 27th.
Monday.
No, this is we're in a meeting. I appreciate. I everybody is. You guys say I just totally misread that.